Hello and welcome back to another lesson. This is a video lesson about how to use Photoshop to prepare images for your website. So when you take a photograph with a camera that you have, even a smartphone camera, that photograph is going to be very large and it's not going to be ready for your website. So what you need to do is you need to open it in Photoshop. I've provided an image that you can use. I have it on my desktop, so I'm going to open my image. I'm going to go to my desktop, and the one that I've prepared is 0028.jpg. You notice, by the way, the size is 4.23 megabytes. It's a really big file. You can see the dimensions are 4,256 by 2,832 pixels. It's a giant photograph. So let's open that up and let's work with that. If you get this kind of message, just click OK. We don't have to worry about that kind of thing. Okay, so here's the photograph. Now, if you use the keyboard shortcut Control 1, that will make the picture full size. This shows pixel per pixel the image that we're using, and as you can see, it's giant. If you want to make it smaller, you can type Control and 0, and that will make the picture just big enough for us to see the whole thing. But it is now only 33% of its regular size, so you have to remember that this is smaller than regular size. Now the first thing you might want to do is to use some corrections. You might notice that there are some dark areas of this photograph that we might want to punch up. So we're going to go to the Image menu, and we're going to go to Adjustments. And in Photoshop, if you have an image that has areas which are too bright and areas which are too dark, a great feature to use is something called Shadows and Highlights. This is in the Image menu, under Adjustments, and Shadows, Highlights. So here you can see that it's already working. This is a little bit too much, but you can see that now the dark areas have gotten lighter, and the light areas, if we do this, are getting darker. This looks terrible, so you don't want to do it this much. But you might want to do it by a certain amount. I'm going to try, let's say, about 20% for the shadows, and for the highlights, let's see, probably not so much, just about 5%. So let's see, there we go. So I've got 20% for the shadows and 5% for the highlights. I'm going to click OK. And so now if I go back and forth to show you before and after, you can see the difference in the image. The darker areas became lighter, the light areas became a little bit darker, and so this might be closer to the image that you want to use. So I'm going to now crop the image because I don't want to use everything in here. There might be a person who doesn't want to appear in this photograph. So I'm going to go over to the crop tool. The crop tool is on the left here. You can see it right here, and I'm going to click on that. Now when I click on that, you'll notice that we get some crop marks that appear at the corners. You can use those and you can pull them down and you can create the crop that you want. Or you could, let me put that back, you could just use this cursor tool to click and drag and kind of paint the shape that you want. And there we go. And so now I can move it around. I can move the picture around inside there, and here we go. That's what I'd like to crop. So once I'm finished, all I need to do is hit the Enter key, and you'll see that it now cuts out the rest of the image. We've now lost that part. We can undo if we want it back, but right now this is what I'd like to have. I might want to crop out the top there a little bit more. I'll use the crop marks here this time. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Again, hit the Enter key, and now it's cropped the way I like. So to finish cropping, you want to go back and click on the Move tool right up here. It's the top tool in the left side toolbar, and that'll take you out of crop, and now the image should be closer to what it is that you want. Okay, now there are other adjustments that you can do. In the Image menu, under Adjustments, you can adjust the brightness and contrast if you think that it needs that. You can make the image darker. or brighter. You can make it be less contrasted, a little bit more gray, or more contrasted, where the colors are really going to come out. I'm going to cancel this because actually I think that the colors here are not bad. But there's another thing I can do if I want to adjust the colors. I can go to Adjustments, and I can go to Hue and Saturation. So again, that's Image menu, Adjustments, and Hue and Saturation. This allows me to do various effects. For example, if I want to, I could change the hue and make myself into an alien or something like that. I don't want to do that. But I could also make it black and white by putting the saturation down to -100, or anything in between there and the regular color, or I could bring the colors out and really, oh, it looks like I'm cooking there, make the colors exactly the level that I'd like them to be. So I'm going to do +25 on this, so the colors come out more strongly. I'm going to say OK. There's another thing I can do. I can go to Image, and under Adjustments, I can go to Color Balance. Color Balance also allows me to adjust the colors, but this time it allows me to do one color at a time. If I think it's too red, I can go out of the red and into the blue. Maybe add a little bit of yellow there. And maybe, no, I don't want to look too green, so let's go a little bit minus on that. And I can do this for the shadows. So the shadows are mostly affected. Maybe have a little bit more red in the shadows. But the highlights, I want to take the red out, so I do that. And again, you can just click these buttons at the bottom and wave these bars around and see what effects you get. When you're finished, when you've got the colors that you want, click OK. And now your image is probably adjusted the way that you want it. Once again, these tools I've just shown you are in the Image menu under Adjustments. They include Brightness and Contrast, Hue and Saturation, Color Balance, and Shadows and Highlights. You don't have to use any of these if the colors and the contrast are exactly what you want. You can use just one or just two or all of them depending on what it is you want to adjust about the image. Alright, now if I do Control-1 again, you can see that my image is still really too big. So we're going to change the size now. After you've cropped it and you've adjusted it, you want to go back into the Image menu and you want to go to Image Size. Now remember, you want this to be something that's reasonable for your web page. So if your wrapper div is, say, 1,000 pixels, and you want this to fit about so it's about half of the width of your wrapper, then 500 is a possibility. Although you have to remember, you probably have padding, so maybe 450 would fit. Would be about half the width of the content area. And then when you're finished with that, just click OK. And now you'll see that the image size has become something more reasonable. This is Control-1, so that's the 100% size of our image. Okay, so now there's one more step, and that is to save the image for a website. So you go to the File menu, and you go down here, and you don't save or save as, you go down to Save for Web. So you click on that, and you'll get a dialog box. Here, you'll get the choice of choosing what kind of image. Remember, GIF is not really very good quality. You only get 256 colors, and it doesn't look as good. PNG is not too bad, but it's a fairly large image. This would make the image 225 kilobytes. You can see the size down here in the left-hand corner. PNGs are a little bit big, so if you want just a regular photograph, high quality, but you want it to be low in file size, go to JPEG. Now, an important point is to set the quality. The quality can be 100%, where the picture quality is perfect, but that again makes the file size fairly large. You can see it's smaller than the PNG. It's 115 kilobytes, but we can make it smaller. If we go down to 0% quality, that's going to make the file size really small. It's only going to be 8 kilobytes here. But now if you look at the image, you'll see that the quality is horrible. It looks terrible. So you want something in between those two. I find that a happy balance is usually at around 60 to 70. If I do 70% quality, then you'll see that the size is 43 kilobytes, which is just fine. That's a very manageable size. So you might set it for 60 or 80%, depending on what you think, but I don't think most people could tell the difference between 70% or 80% quality. Once you've finished, then you want to go down to the Save button at the bottom. Do not click Done. That just saves the settings, but it doesn't save the image. So we want to click Save, and then choose the location for your image. I'm going to save it back on my desktop, but I want to give this a new name. Remember, your file names for your website, for every file, should be descriptive. So this is an image of me, so I'm going to call it Posa01. I'm giving it the number 01 in case I have other pictures of myself. I can call that Posa02, Posa03, and so forth. So once you've got it with a file name and you're saving it in the correct place, then just click the Save button over here. And that'll be it. So now if we go to our desktop, we can see that we've got this image over here. And if you were to look at this image, you would find that it is very small, only about 40 kilobytes, and you're ready to use it in your web page. So those are the steps to create an image that's ready for your website. A small resolution of the image and a small file size that's going to be easy for visitors to download. And that's it for this lesson.